Hi, I'm Dan Leonard.
And I'm George Whittam.
And this is VoiceOver
Body Shop.
or VOBS.
All
right. Well, tonight we got a great show. Joyce Castellanos is our guest. We're going to talk about promo. Very narrow area of voiceover, but it takes a fair amount of skill. We're also going to talk about some software like
Audition, Twisted Wave.
Right. And compare and contrast.
That's right. And a video package from NAB that I've covered from Audition. And a little show and tell. I'm going to tell you about these headphones I'm wearing and why I like them.
All right. That's coming up next on VoiceOver Body Shop.
Two men, twin sons from different mothers, with a passion for voiceover recording technology and the desire to make recording easy for voice actors everywhere. Together, in one place, George Whittam, the home studio engineer to the stars, a Virginia Tech grad with an unmatched knowledge of all the latest gear and technology in voiceover today. Dan Leonard, the home studio master, a voice actor with over 30 years experience in broadcasting and recording, and a no-holds-barred, myth-busting attitude for teaching you how easy it is. Together, finally, to bring you all the latest technology, the superstars of voiceover today, and leading the discussion on how to make the most of your voiceover business. This is VoiceOver Body Shop. And now, live from their super secret multimedia studio in Sherman Oaks, California, here are George Whittam and Dan Leonard.
Well, if you haven't figured it out yet, I'm Dan Leonard.
And I'm not. I'm George Whittam.
Thank you. George Whittam.
George Whittam.
Right. And this is VoiceOver
Body Shop.
or VO.
BS.
All right. Welcome to the show tonight. We're going to have a great time. We've got a great guest. Joyce Castellanos is going to be joining us. So stay tuned for that in a little while. Plus, we've got lots of tech stuff we want to talk about. If anybody has a tech question, please throw it in the chat room if you happen to be in the chat room. And Anthony, who is sitting there in Kalamazoo, Michigan, or Grand Rapids, or wherever it is he is, somewhere in South Central Michigan sort of thing. Mm-hmm. He will write it down, pass it on to us, and we will answer that voiceover home studio technology question right here on this very show.
We want them. Send them in.
That's right. But we need to thank our sponsors, because without them, this thing just wouldn't happen.
That's right.
Like Harlan Hogan over at VoiceOver Essentials.
That's right. VoiceOver Extra.
Edge Studios, your employers.
Mm-hmm. Source Elements.
VO2GoGo and Rehearsal app.
That's right. And Antland Productions.
All right.
Uncle Roy.
Yeah, get yourself a killer demo. Mm-hmm. Well, we don't have any news tonight because John's on vacation.
Yeah. Good for him.
Yeah. Or at least he was, which is why we don't have the news. Mm-hmm. So we're going to talk about software because I think probably one of the questions we probably get the most from people who call us mostly in a panic is about their software and what's the best software to use. A much different question from what's the best microphone to use.
That's for sure.
Which, of course, drives us both totally insane.
I was making a comparison to Amy, who's a photographer. Mm-hmm. And, I said, it's kind of like, because she got that question. She does audiobook editing and proofing. And then somebody asked that on Twitter. I don't know.
Right.
And I said, that's kind of like asking a photographer, which of your lenses is the right lens for me because I'm 6'2"? It's sort of like that.
And 5 feet wide.
Right. Yeah. I mean, it's like, it's yes, there are mics that sound better than others, or maybe you'll have, but it's you get a good mic that's accurate. It's going to sound good on almost anybody.
That's right. So, and you can make tiny corrections if you need to.
Yeah, we'll rant on about that. But we're talking about software
tonight.
Yeah.
So
you use both Audition and Twisted Wave.
I use Audition. I use Twisted Wave. I have not moved up to Audition Cloud
CC.
Yeah. I'm waiting for them to reduce the price, but apparently it's working for them, so they're not going to. So I may just have to take the
Dive in.
plunge.
Is it $19.99 or $29.99?
I think it's 19 a month.
$19.99 a month. Okay.
And so hopefully it's apparently got some cool features, which you have some video on.
We do. We've a little video package from NAB I'll run in a second. But, this video is going to kind of demonstrate some unique features that makes Audition maybe worthwhile for some people. Why this over Twisted Wave? Like for you, for those that don't know, we're both big fans of it. You must not be watching the show often if you don't know that. But Twisted Wave is sort of like, I don't know, Audition's more like the super duper Swiss Army knife that has 27 blades.
Yes. And a corkscrew.
And Twisted Wave is sort of like just a nice buck knife. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
Is that like an apt description?
Yeah, well, like a survival machete.
Yeah.
Something along those lines.
Yeah. I mean, when do you how do you choose which one you're going to use? Twisted Wave is very stripped down and simple. Audition is much more, has a lot more going on.
Well, it depends on what you're doing, obviously.
Yeah.
Now, if you're doing, auditions and stuff like that, either one works fine.
Yeah.
There are certain things that I like in Audition, like the spectrogram, which is a killer piece of the app. That's what really makes Audition work for me is that because it allows you to really correct the audio and take out clicks and problems visually because you can see them, that things that you can't see in the waveform, which
You have some
Twisted
surgical
Wave.
precision that
It's
you can
it's
do
like
things that are.
Oh, it is. It's like surgery.
But it's also like Photoshop or painting for sound.
Right, because it's
so
made by
cool.
the same people who make Photoshop.
Yeah, they're
It's
pretty
a very
pretty
similar interface and the same idea and working, and it's all working with frequencies.
Mm-hmm.
It's just color coding the frequencies and making them a little easier to understand.
So if you're banging on auditions and you want to work quickly, just pretty much stick with Twisted Wave.
Yeah, if
For
you're
the
going to
most
do them
part.
in one take.
Yeah.
I mean, with Audition, I usually will record most of my auditions in Audition, which
Okay.
makes a lot of sense because it's like Twisted Wave. You turn it on, you hit record, it records.
Yeah.
And when I'm done, I can edit very, very accurately with it
Yeah.
and get it out the door real fast.
Okay.
I generally will use Twisted Wave for longer format stuff.
Okay.
Like if I'm doing, if I was doing an audiobook,
Yeah.
God help me, or if I was doing e-learning, of which I do a tremendous amount, and I'm cutting things up into individual slides, like say it's for a PowerPoint, or it's for some of the other software that makes some of these presentations for businesses. I can divvy that up into slides so much faster using Twisted Wave than I can with anything else.
Yeah.
And because it's such a trimmed down piece of software, it's incredibly reliable with large files.
Really
so
stable.
So you can run it for 45 minutes and 45 minutes, it's still going to be there. After an hour, still going to be there.
There is something about it that feels just a little more stable
That's right.
than Audition. And that's just comes with the territory. Twisted Wave is very simple software. Audition, a lot more going on under the hood. So,
Right. But if you've got the computer to handle it,
Yeah.
it shouldn't be a problem.
shouldn't be a problem. Plenty of RAM, good
Right.
a good system. But well, here's a package I can show that will kind of show maybe a few features that not everybody will need. But if you're putting together spots or you're doing production with Audition, some of these features might be pretty killer.
Well, and you can do multi-track with it too. But
Yeah.
they'll show you this on this video. This
Here's
is a great presentation.
Yeah, check it out.
Patch real quick, and I'm just going to reopen that music track right here. I still have that right there. So here I have a music track. It's got a beat. And what we can do with Remix, which came out in the CC 2015.1 release, so around November 2015, we can intelligently splice music, either shorter or longer, by listening to the music, having an algorithm that listens to the music. The algorithm was created by our own in-house researchers. And once it does a quick analysis pass, you can say, I want my music to be, this long for a 15-second commercial or much longer. And so we're just going to demonstrate that real quick. The first step is to bring it into a multi-track session. So that brings it into a sequence. And so here I have a clip. The first thing I'm going to do is enable Remix for the clip. And what that does is that has the computer listen to the music. I can do this from the context menu of the clip, go to Remix, enable Remix, or I can go to my properties panel the remix section and say enable remix. When I do that, it's going to analyze it, and I only need to analyze it once. And again, this is the clip is just over 2 minutes, just shy of 2 minutes 20 seconds, and this will take us maybe about 20 seconds total to analyze. So now I've analyzed it, and now I have these extra handles up top with a special cursor. I can actually just drag to a new duration if I know on the timeline, if I have a marker, have it go there. And what I can see is that it's already made 2 cuts, 2 splices. And let's go ahead and listen to that. You can see inside, we'll zoom in here, it has the time codes at where it made the cuts. So let's go ahead and play. And then the second cut.
Are you with me?
So not only did you have a smooth cut, it also maintains the beat. So you can keep it snapping if you know how to keep a beat, and you can see it's keeping it, and it's not just finding a zero crossing or something silly like that. We can also change the way it does it, so you can do short sections or long sections. So if you shorten that up, it will do more splices and take more chunks of the song. I can also just drag it out. Remember, we were at 220, so let's go to 9 minutes 30 seconds. And you can see it repeated a bunch of short stuff. So if I had a loop, and if I wanted to vamp and do something like that, but say that's probably going to be too repetitive, so I want to just repeat longer sections, recalculates, and we have a little bit longer one more time. And here we have, it's probably doing entire verse chorus pairs in different orders. And that's remix. So to show the loudness matching, there's several ways to do that. If you're in a multi-track timeline, you can do this on a clip-by-clip basis. So what you do is context menu, match clip loudness, or I believe that's in the clip menu, again, match clip loudness. And let's actually bring in a full multi-track session to show how you can do this on multiple things at the same time. So let's just do this entire dialogue track, and I want to get all these clips to be dialogue matched. So I'm going to do match clip loudness, and I can choose the different level if I want to do RMS, or if I'm doing something for the EBU, R128, ATSC A85 for North American digital television, or the overarching standard of them all is ITUR BS 1770-3. And you can type in your target and your tolerance, so it won't affect everything if you want, if it's already within range. And it goes through, and you can see on each clip, it said it raised some 6 dB, it raised, well, there's a bad, they were already target matched, but they'll say plus 3.2 or minus 2.9. In an upcoming version, we actually have the essential sound panel where we're actually going to simplify that to dialogue, and we can just have a single, if I change back to the normal view, in the user view, say dialogue, and I just say auto match, it's going to go to my preset. So this one it brought up 14 dB, this one it brought down 6.94. So that's how you can do it on a clip-by-clip basis. But if you want to batch process several files, like if you're doing an audiobook or something like that, you can do each chapter at a time. I can actually open up the match loudness panel, and in previous versions this was called match volume, but it works the same. It's just a name change. So I can bring in things from my files panel. Let me change the view here. And I can actually bring in multiple files, and it's going to scan it and say what the current loudness is for all these. So some of these are at minus 30 LUFS, some of them are minus 27. I actually want to change them all to the EBU standard. It's minus 23 LUFS with a tolerance and true peak to be that. Oh, absolutely. And I can say just go ahead and run. And on a multi-core machine, it will do multiple files at the same time. It will actually do, if you have 8 cores, it'll do at least 7 files at the same time. And if you're doing 1,000 files, which some of the video game people do, you can actually batch process all of those, go out, get coffee, and come back. You can also export directly from here. So if you know you don't need to QC them afterwards, you can actually export them all to new wave files that have been, loudness matched or stuff like that, and embed your metadata, change all your settings. And if you want to do RMS, you could match versus RMS if that's what your delivery requirements dictate. So to show declicking, I don't have a good file for that right now, but I'll just show this on a music track where some of the percussion hits, the algorithms will think that is sort of a click, that will come up as a click. So since we have an integrated spectral view, one of the ways to do this is you can actually just paint out the sound with the spot healing brush. So that's the Band-Aid. Again, just like Photoshop, you can just sort of carve that out, and you can just do that with the mouse or with your stylus, again, if you're used to other Adobe tools that have the brush interface. Other ways to do that, if you're working in the waveform or if you find it, you can make a selection and say Favorites, Auto Heal, which is a quick way to get to Auto Heal Selection. Also Control-U is the shortcut for that. And you can go ahead and do that, and it will try and reduce the click. Those are for doing single clicks or so spot clicks. We have some more automated methods. A few different examples I'll show. So I can make a selection or just do the whole file. And the first place we'll look at is the automatic click remover. Real simple effect, just a couple settings. Start the presets, light, heavy, or medium. It's okay to do multiple passes too at different settings. And you can go ahead and say apply, and it will go ahead and update. Another way to do that is through the Click Pop Eliminator. This is a much more advanced effect, which will can do larger pops. So instead of like a click, like a digital click or something like that, a pop or like a mic bump or something like that. Here you would scan for different levels and set your sensitivity thresholds. Again, just start with the defaults as a starting place. Choose which one is closest, and then you can modify from there. And you can also do single work with this more advanced algorithm. Finally, we have another one which allows you to do more individual QCing. This is in diagnostics, effects diagnostics declicker in the process. This brings up the diagnostics panel, which has several different modes, but I can scan for different click settings, and it will show me the time codes of all the things it determines as clicks, and I can actually zoom in and find the different things that are clicks. But I can actually just say repair all, and it'll go through and show me in the list which ones were repaired, and then I can clear those out. Or I can actually, if I wanted to, select those and right-click and create markers out of the clicks, and I can go through and do the more manual methods if I really wanted to go through and get it perfect.
Hiya, VO friends. You sure you ain't booked a VO gig in 7 years? And your demo is so old that you can hear the clicks from the stock music records? And you hear so much tape hiss that you run to the sink to see if the faucet is running? And the engineer used so much echo on your voice that it sounds like it was recorded in the Grand Canyon? And the scripts seem a bit dated too, advertising the new and improved 1938 Plymouth Road King? Is that what's been troubling you, Bunky?
Well, lift your head up high and take a walk in the sun. Your demo can be killer, too. Just contact Uncle Roy at AtlandProductions.com and book yourself a shiny new killer demo. Show your stick-to-itiveness and show the world you'll never give up, never give up, never give up. That dream.
VoiceOver Body Shop. Learn the latest in voiceover technology. Learn how to get rid of that. VoiceOver Body Shop, 9 Eastern, 6 Pacific, on VOBS.us.
All right, we're back, and we're going to talk about Source Elements tonight. Source Elements is our second sponsor for the episode, and their products are mostly known for, thanks for moving the globe
out of there.
It's funny looking up there. Source Elements is mostly known for their product they've had out on the market for almost 10 years now called Source Connect. Source Connect is a method for connecting between two studios, real-time, high-quality audio, and it's a very robust, reliable package that has been honed over the last 10 years to be something that you can rely on for studio recording remotely. If you're familiar with what ISDN does, you know what Source Connect does. It gives you high quality audio in two directions, back and forth, so you can be in a session virtually, but from many, many miles away. It's one of the best softwares out there. It's established itself as probably the heir apparent to ISDN at this point, and you should probably check it out if you're looking at kind of elevating your voiceover game. And it's even helpful for having a demo produced by a producer in another city. That's one way that Source Connect is actually used quite a bit. If you want to give it a try, go over to sourceelements.com and you can sign up for a 15-day free trial. And yes, nowadays you can use Source Connect without an iLock key.
Yes.
You don't have to have the little USB key anymore to use Source Connect, so that's nice. But anyway, check them out. We appreciate their sponsorship of VOBS. Thanks, guys.
All righty. As he pulls the mic back into position.
He's pulling me back in.
Just make sure that's in the right spot here.
Yeah.
There we
So we've got a few mailbag check-in questions.
And this
from
is
our
really the
audience.
essence of our show. I mean,
Yeah.
we want these tech questions. You guys you've been watching for years, or maybe you're brand new to the show. Feel free to send us questions in the chat room during the show.
Yeah.
Or you can also send them to us at theguys@vobs.tv so
right.
we can actually prepare an answer.
Yeah, if you can't be here live, email it in before.
That's right. And of course, it doesn't matter. We don't need to prepare for the answers. We know the answers.
And if we don't, I promise
We'll make
tell you.
something up.
Anyway, the first one, it looks like we got from Richard Hercher in the chat room tonight. And his tech question is, I'm thinking of putting my blanket studio in a basement closet. 2 walls are foundation walls with fiberglass insulation, and the other 2 walls are drywall with space to put in mineral wool. I can't hear any sound when the house water runs.
No,
Toilets.
I can't hear any sound when the house water runs.
So if the toilet showers are
Right,
running.
yeah.
But if the sprinklers go, so I think what he's trying to say in his own special way, when the sprinklers turn on, I hear the sprinklers.
Heck, well, that's
Any
an easy
suggestions on quieting those pipes?
Well, yes, it's a very easy suggestion. You go over to the automatic sprinkler control when you're about to record, and you turn it off.
That's one very, very cheap fix.
It's a lot less sophisticated. It works really well.
Yeah.
You just got to remember to turn it back on, especially if you live in California.
I don't know where you live, but where I live, you can only run them like every 3 days.
7
And
minutes, 3 times a week.
and you're supposed to run them in the middle of the night.
Right.
You don't run them during the day when you're working.
Right.
So,
Also because it'll evaporate.
exactly. So, your area might be different, but honestly, I'll tell you what it's involved. It involves tearing the walls open, and it involves
Turn off the sprinkler system.
it involves tearing open the walls and insulating the pipes and mounting them on rubber so that when the water rushes through them, the sound isn't being transmitted into the wall frame and all this stuff. Just turn them off. Just turn them off. Set them to turn on in the middle of the night when you're not recording.
Really?
These are the practical solutions.
Very practical.
Another question from Richard. Can anyone recommend any good Logic for VO training tools? He says, I have a free copy I got from Apple. Actually, we got a link from Anthony in our chat room about a solution for doing this. If you're looking for, you won't hear Dan and I talk about Logic that often.
No, why would
I
we?
find Apple Logic software to be just a little overwhelmingly complicated. It's sort of Apple's take on doing a Pro Tools system. And it's really great if you're a composer and arranger and you're trying to compose
If you are
music.
a musician, it is for
Yeah.
multi-tracking. And it's not
Yeah.
so great for that either.
It's got MIDI and synthesized instruments and all sorts of crazy stuff, but it's just not the right tool for VO. No one has been able to convince me otherwise. But that said, if you check the show notes after the show, we have a link. It's way too long to read it here, but groove3.com does actually have Logic Pro training for producing voiceovers with Logic. So there's somewhere you can go look.
All righty. Question here from Devox.
Yeah.
Never short of questions.
No, he is not.
He says, would love to learn more about de-essing. Everything out there I have seen is far too generalized and not enough audio. Okay? And maybe I haven't figured out the right de-esser yet. Yes, see, again, it's not that hard. a lot of people may think they have a very sibilant voice, and sometimes, well, I'll get a mic that isn't as sensitive to sibilance.
Yeah.
Or a lot of times it's simply mic technique. And again, we want to solve these problems physically before we have to start using filters.
Yeah.
It's just a matter of figuring out exactly at what frequency your sibilance tends to exist, right? So what's a good way to get rid of getting rid of de-essing, or is there a good de-ess package, or is there a way to do it without having to go
Well, you
into
mentioned
something
mic placement,
complex?
right? Well, mic placement, like the sweet spot right in the middle of the mic is where it's going to be by far the most sibilant sensitive.
Right.
So move out of the sweet spot a little bit. Talk a little more off the axis of the mic. Move out of the sweet spot, and guess what? There'll be a lot less sibilance.
Right. And you shouldn't be so close to it anyway.
Yeah, you can move out of that sweet spot, and you'll be amazed at how it still hears you quite nicely and just is less bright.
Right.
That's an easy fix.
Right.
For de-essing, I mean, I'm using the tools built into Twisted Wave, and I just use their multi-band compressor. It's not exactly user-friendly.
It's like a preset on there, isn't it?
I think they may have a preset now, but I just use the multi-band compressor to do it in Twisted Wave. It's taken some experimentation, but basically you're saying take this particular band of frequencies where the S's are and squish them down. So whenever I hit the microphone, no. Is that number 4? Are you keeping track of how many
I'm
times
not keeping
I hit
track tonight. The five at NAB was plenty. You've done it for a lifetime.
I have. It's just a matter of finding the frequency. So if you're using a de-essing tool, the one in Audition actually is a really good one. I think it's pretty easy to use. It has a mode where you can preview the S's. So all you hear is the sibilance.
Right.
And then you slide the frequency slider up and down until the thing that really stands out and hits you in the face until you locate that frequency. Right. Then once you found it, you turn that mode off, and then you can dial in how much of it you want to take away.
Yeah. Now in Audition, also I use the spectrogram to deal with sibilance. If there's like an S here,
spot fixer,
a spot, you just highlight it in the spectrogram, and then just
turn it down
and take it down about 10 dB, and it works miracles.
Yeah. So if you don't want to kind of do something that's blanket over the entire file as an effect, that's a nice spot fix method.
Right. And it's also great for fixing mic pops and stuff like that. Not that I ever pop a P on a mic.
Well, I tell you, at NAB, or was it NAM? It was probably NAM. There actually was a company.
They're starting to merge.
Yeah, there was a company that was literally there just to show off a de-esser. Like that was their booth was built around a de-esser.
Right.
So there's clearly people thinking that there needs to be a reinvention of the de-esser.
Well, they're for rock stars.
Yeah.
People who are getting right up and intimate with their mic, and they're going to get that kind of stuff.
Practically touching the microphone.
That's right. If you're doing that in voiceover, you're not doing it right.
Yeah.
Unless you're doing a really intimate read or something like that.
Yeah.
But we're not doing that. Well,
and
sometimes we are.
Another thing is I get people that send me files all the time thinking it's really bright and essy, and I listen to it back on my monitoring system, and it's not bright and essy because they're using extremely bright headphones.
Right.
Sony MDR 7506s or something,
right.
And it's super bright, and
they're listening on their laptop,
or they're listening on something that's really bright. Yeah, MacBook lap speakers are notoriously sibilant,
right. Or their iPhone.
Yeah, so if you're listening on the wrong speakers, guess what? You're going to think it's sibilant, and maybe it isn't.
That's right.
So maybe you want to check that first too.
Alrighty.
A couple more quick questions, and then we'll be able to take another quick break, and we'll be able to say hi to our guests.
Great.
Who are here. Anthony Gettig says, not sure if this is show worthy. I really am looking. Serious question. Does anyone know of a case study or studio that switched from Pro Tools to Audition? Oh, it's funny you mentioned that because I was thinking the same thing, Anthony, since you use both. I've been looking for such a resource for some time. I really would like to make the jump, but I have a lot of questions.
Well, have there been any academic studies of this?
I don't think so.
I don't think so either.
I don't think so.
I'm sure there's another white paper in there to write somewhere, but
Audition is like a tool that came out of Cool Edit, and Cool Edit is something that was picked up heavily in Sound Booth, where they kind of merged. But Cool Edit was a big radio production tool. It was really popular in radio.
Right.
So it has a different terminology, a different tool set, a different workflow than Pro Tools. So the two are quite different in a lot of ways. I prefer all working in Audition.
Me
I
too.
Just do.
I hate Pro Tools.
Yeah, I mean, I can make Pro Tools dance, but I don't see a really good reason to use it for most stuff. I think I can do anything I want to do in Audition. But why is it not being used in more pro recording studios? Probably because it's just momentum. Pro Tools is in so many studios, and if you're in any way collaborating on projects, you just got to be able to speak the same language as everybody else.
Right.
And I think that's why you're not going to see it that much.
Right.
In niche worlds like voiceover and audiobooks, you're seeing a lot of other tools, Reaper being one of them. I mean, you're seeing Reaper take over for Pro Tools quite a bit.
Yeah. So you have choices out there, but you want to keep it simple.
Yeah.
And Pro Tools is not simple.
It's not simple. It's a little bit heavy duty. It's a little overbearing, but it's a standard. So if you're collaborating, you need to use a standard.
It's a standard for those people who use it professionally and do all sorts of stuff with it. If somebody doing one track, single track audio in mono, then you don't.
You can work to picture in Audition too. Like if that's what you're doing is syncing to picture, Audition was designed for that.
That's what it was. It was built to interface with Premiere.
Yeah,
So
you can
it
work
does
with
that.
video.
All
One
right.
last question.
Yes.
From Fernando Godinez. A 3.5 by 3.5 by 7 vocal booth with fiberglass between all the panels. The inside is Auralex foam with mini bass traps in the corners. Would it be beneficial to replace the foam with Corning rigid 703 fiberglass in order to reduce the boxy, boomy sound? Well, yeah, I mean, rigid fiberglass 705 is even better. It's more rigid. It's more dense. So, yeah, that will probably help it, but I don't think I can answer that question through text. I think we'd have to hear it to really know what's going on, you know, and tell you what frequencies are resonating. And then once we hear what frequencies are resonating, recommend the right product.
So send us a sample.
Yeah.
I mean, really, it's worth 1,000 words.
Auralex foam with mini bass traps. Your mini bass traps, are they 4-inch square? I mean, how many are... Basically, mini and bass traps, it's an oxymoron. Bass traps do not work when they are mini. So that's probably the main problem, is you need real bass traps, which are quite large. Bass traps are big.
All right.
Yeah.
Okay, well, we've been rambling on for a bit here.
Well, we've been answering questions.
That's true.
Last I checked.
But excellent answers.
Yeah.
And excellent questions. So send them on in and keep listening. Yeah. Joyce Castellanos is our guest. We're going to talk about promo.
Mm-hmm.
And so we'll be joining her in just a couple of minutes. And so don't go anywhere. We'll be right back here on VoiceOver Body Shop.
Learning never ends.
You continue to grow.
Edge Studio has grown. Pursue multiple disciplines in tandem and grow your career. We've added new courses in a new curriculum.
We pick the best coaches from the community of working voice actors.
A new technology division, engineering and consulting, led by George Whittam.
Follow your dream.
Sign up for advanced learning or register for an introduction to voice acting or foundation studies program.
See it all now
at thenewedgestudio.com.
Man, there's one show that I can't miss. It's called VOBS. And a lot of people are like, VOBS? What is that? Man, it's BS about VO. And I love VO. How much BS is gonna be in this show? There's only one way to find out, baby.
Thanks for joining us once again for another episode of VoiceOver Body Shop.
Joyce Castellanos will be joining us in just a minute. But first, I have to read a spot. Well, I'm not actually going to read it. I'm going to do it almost from memory. Okay, right. You know how we've been telling you about the Rehearsal Pro app that our great friend David H. Lawrence, the 17th, has invented to help you learn your lines if you're a stage actor or if you're doing longer scripts or stuff like that. It's a great app. It's amazing, and now it's out there. It's been updated. It is an amazing app, and they can't say that it's just coming anymore because it's actually out there. Because Rehearsal Pro is now on sale in the iTunes App Store. Apple surprise 5 short days. David must know somebody at Apple, because they don't do that for anybody.
David has connections.
He does. Alrighty, but it has over 150 new features and options, all designed to make the industry standard rehearsal app even more valuable to the professional actor. And that includes a smooth as silk voiceover audition submission function. Now that in itself, it makes it totally worth it. See, now it would help also if the microphone was here too, wouldn't it? You're probably like potting it way up. And anyway, we are talking about Rehearsal App Pro here. It has 150 new features and options, all designed to make the industry standard rehearsal even more valuable. And so it's a great app. Go over to rehearsal.pro. Rehearsal.pro. What a great URL that is. How does he come up with this stuff? But check it out. It's rehearsal.pro, not .com, rehearsal.pro, or search for Rehearsal, the app, or Rehearsal in the App Store. Be off book and book more work with the Rehearsal Pro. And had I used it, I would have memorized this, and it would have sounded so much better. Anyway, it is time to introduce our guest. And her name is Joyce Castellanos. Yes, now where are my questions in here? I know they're here. Okay, good. Welcome.
Hello.
It is so nice to see you.
Oh, honey, it's
Hello.
great. Haven't seen you in a bit. It's good to see you.
It's been a couple of weeks. Vegas, I think, was the last time when we saw each other at
Ooh.
WovoCon, which was a lot of fun.
That was a ball.
Yes. Now, tell us a little bit about yourself and how it is that you've gotten to where you are today. Now, first off, you were telling me you're a Valley girl, for sure.
Yes, raised in the Valley, cruising Van Nuys Boulevard when you could do it. Now, not so much, but yes, I was raised out here. Not born. I was born somewhere. I was born in Chicago, but here since I was a kid. So I know the Valley real well. But actually, kind of got into the promo world at NBC.
Mm-hmm.
Quite a while ago, and worked my way into the basement to do some audio and video work, and from there the story just kept going. I went to the WB television network, worked in audio there, started training in voiceover myself to be a better director, found I loved it. The ham comes out, and the ham comes out in all of us anyways. But directing is wonderful, and started to teach because I was noticing the transition from commercial VO to promo VO was not as easy as it seemed, and people weren't really training. I was auditioning people to, be the voice of the network, and finding that there weren't a lot of people other than the big guys already that really understood promo. And it was changing at the time.
Who were some of the people you were working with back then?
Well, I was working with the greats. I had such a great opportunity. I started with Danny Dark at NBC, Don LaFontaine, Jerry Bishop, Peter Cullen. I mean, these were greats. It was a wonderful time. But these people, you didn't direct much. You didn't need to. They were so aware of what they were doing. They knew the style at the time that it was, that's good. A little faster, a little slower, great. And that was directing. But when you got to the WB in the early mid-90s, things changed from the announcer, more of the big voice, to getting more real, more conversational. All of a sudden, it was a very different world. Dave Fennoy. Dave Fennoy is fantastic. He was one of our guys too. And then when it started to change over, it was a lighter read for a while. It was a more friendly read, and it was, especially when you were doing comedy, it was much more thrown away. That's what they mean by conversational, not the announcer style with the big broad bravado. It had more personal interaction. So for me to start directing the talent, I really needed to understand more about what it was to be in the booth, because I didn't come from an acting background. I came from an English background. Understanding copy was one thing, but the acting side of it, for an actor to be in the booth and have to take direction, and how do you communicate? That's all things that I got to learn when I was training as a voice actor myself. And so that was really exciting, and it was really fun. And as over the years, being able to see how the changes have been affected, some things coming back around and some things not, being able to work with talent and help them connect back to their emotions so they can then connect to the story and understand the story. That's what I do. That's what I love.
Sounds like a fun job to me. But promo is a very difficult nut to crack. I mean, everybody's like, well, not everybody. There are certain people, a lot of people who say you have really good radio voices or stuff, and they think that they're just made for promo. And it's not necessarily so. Not a lot of people succeeding at it. A lot of people trying. They think it looks easy. Why do they think it looks easy, and why is it not?
I really believe, having watched it over the years, the people that are successfully working in promo have worked very hard to be able to tell a story. They're wonderful actors, and they understand what it is to break down the script, to communicate, to understand the interaction of what's happening in the story. So therefore, they're not trying to make it bigger than it is. They're involved. They're telling the story from a knowing perspective. They work very hard at this. It's not something you just say, "Oh, I think I'll put on a play." It's really something that they work so hard to make it effortless that when they read their promos, when they tell their stories, you believe them. And that's part of what makes it look so easy.
Right.
Any actor that you believe and that you buy into their story, it didn't come easily. It takes a lot of work, a lot of training. And so it does seem like, well, I can do that. I can read that, but you're not reading, you're communicating emotion. And that's what people forget, and that's what they need to learn.
So what is the story? I mean, if it's they're short little lines, coming up next, or it's something along the lines of he thought he was getting a new key. I mean,
it's so true. It can be so over dramatic,
right? I mean, how is it that you can how do you tell a story in 5 words or less?
That's a great question. and the shorter the spot, the more difficult it is.
Clearly.
Because again, if it's a 5 or 10 second spot, there's not much other than next on the WB, right. and that's it. But the story is basically told from the inside. If it's an episodic, it's told from the inside. Someone you relate to, that's the connection. Okay. But there are different kinds of promos too. You have to understand where it's coming from. Is it an episodic? Is it a generic? Is it a quote spot? Is it an open? Each one will have a little different feel to it. But it is, as trailer is more objective, promo is more interactive. So it's knowing the show, knowing the characters, understanding where you are, what you're doing, and why you're there, and keeping it familiar. So that is much more, and it's being able to allow your personality, your personality comes out in most of these. If it's danger, you have to understand where you are. If it's a dark, moody piece, you want to get tight to the mic,
right?
Which is where it's very different than, say, commercial. You wouldn't get that close, but with this, it's the intimacy that you're sharing,
right?
So different beast, and you've got also in the non-scripted shows, reality, non-scripted, whatever, it's not one read. That's the thing. People think it's good. Oh, I've got to do this kind of a read. It's a promo for this. It's a promo read. Well, there is no one read for promo. It is understanding the show, the personality of the network, the personality of the show. When you're talking about a non-scripted, you have so many. You've got the Real Housewives of everywhere.
Yeah, Survivor, all these different realities.
And then you've got the cooking competition. Those are, those competitive also, so you think you can dance, America's Got Talent. Those are different kind of competitive shows. And so your audience, your demographic, the age groups, the male, female, those demographics, those are all things that you take into consideration when you're looking at a script. And the goal is to be able to look at a script, evaluate it quickly, break it down, and get into your character, know where you go, and go for it.
And it's about being a character. Does it help to, obviously, to know the program, and perhaps if you're going to audition for something along these lines, although I'm sure this stuff moves very, very quickly in the audition process, does it, if you're familiar with the show, I'm sure that helps. But does it help to like maybe watch an episode or two to really get an idea of what's going on there?
Absolutely. I mean, obviously knowing you know the response, you know the characters, you're more familiar with what's happening. But your job as a voice actor is to really understand what you're doing. If you don't know the show, the internet is fabulous. You can just look at promos for the show, get a feel. Look at Wikipedia. Go watch an episode. Get familiar. Make yourself familiar with what the show is about. Now, if somebody is going for a promo, say a network has a different spin, they want to kind of spin the show a little differently, then it may be going for a slightly different take on it. But you'll know that by the copy too. Primarily, the most important thing is to be prepared, to understand what it is. You need to do your research. You need to prepare. And it doesn't take that long. Internet is fast. Everything on there is quick. And so it's really important to get familiar with it. Now, if you're going for an audition, say you're being called in to go to the studio for a promo for the network or station, you may or may not know. Sometimes they'll say, okay, this is for a new show coming up, and they may not tell you, because sometimes they just won't.
Right.
And that's fine. You have enough, if you have enough experience, you'll be able to look at a script and then ask the right questions of the engineers and the directors. Okay, so there are questions you can ask without looking like you're green. And those are things that you start to learn as you go.
Questions like?
Okay, what is the demographic of this show? Okay, because if it's on Fox, it could be a whole slew. And if it's on some of the other networks, the CW is 18 to 34. That's their primary audience.
Right.
What is the mood of the show? Do you have any music for it? Those are
always a big help.
That's really good. And the key is to ask, once you get the thing, can you play it down for me once? There's nothing wrong with that. That's a pro move. Yeah. Because it tells them that you will be able to pick up on the music. When you're working to audio and or picture, you're getting a huge benefit because you have music. The music in itself tells you the pace, the attitude, the tone. That is a real key for you. Then you also have, if there are sound bites, you get the interaction of what's happening, because in a script, what looks like it could be extremely serious, when you see it or hear it, you might find that, oh, it's really kind of tongue-in-cheek there. Or something that looks a little light could be just the opposite.
Right.
Do I take the straight man against the joke, or do I get inside the joke? So those are things, you need to be aware of. And by training, you really do find out how to make these things happen quickly. It's not like you have a lot of time.
Right.
When you go in for any casting, any kind of casting, you're going to get a script at the last minute. Cold reads, you've got to understand how to break down that script fast and find your character, because you're absolutely right, Dan. It's a character. Whether it's the sister, the brother, the reporter, the doctor, whoever it is, whose ever point of view you're taking to share the information and share your story, you've got to know it. You've got to be able to break that down fast.
Yeah. And again, it's not about having a great voice. Now, I watch an awful lot of TV because I want to hear what everybody's doing. I want to be entertained, but I also want to study the styles of what I'm hearing in all the voiceover and what's popular and that sort of thing.
And that's the best thing you can do as a voice actor.
That's what I keep telling my wife anyway. Yes, let's watch Outlander. I'm watching it for the voiceover. But I listen to all these wonderful different styles. You know, I'm always commenting whoever it is that does the promo and the bumpers for the Americans. He's he's not doing it. He's like the Americans. It's almost whispered. I'm like, God, what a unique style that is. Who would have thought of that? You know, it's not James Earl Jones, although James Earl Jones probably would sound very good whispering that.
But that is a style I know Scott Rummel has worked tirelessly over the years to perfect that quiet read, that close to the mic, full voice, not a lot of projection, because the engineers can definitely pick it up. Right. But it is an intimacy that comes without, for something that's bold and strong and heavy, you don't want to try to compete with it. You want to guide it.
Right.
So, but there, as you were saying, though, don't you hear a lot of different styles and different tones?
It's different between networks. It's different between shows. And I'm sure because there's probably a different director and a different casting person at each one of those networks. And like, we want somebody to sound sort of like this. And so there's this probably a constant audition process and a reevaluation, or if they're coming out with something new, you know, they want a lot of different variety, especially since there's now hundreds of cable channels out there, and a lot of them run by the same company, and you might find the same voice talent for something along those lines. But the Wealth Channel, I mean, they've got some woman on there. It's the Wealth Channel, and it's amazing how many different things you can find out there. So there's definitely opportunity if someone wants to develop this talent. Now, one of the things you do, aside from being a great director and being a real expert at this, you teach this.
Yes.
Because it's a skill, obviously, that you have to learn. If you hang out for 20 years, you might get it, but it might help to learn a few steps ahead of time. What are some of the things you cover in your teaching?
A lot of what I do originally, when Gene Cordes and I teach together on some courses and some things, we have our individual clients. But when I teach, what I'm doing is giving you the tools to break down to the scripts, to understand the characters, to find you. My goal is to bring out the individual, find the personalities, find the styles that work. Everybody is not going to be doing everything, and your goal is not to be able to do everything and everybody and do everything that that there is out there. What's really important is to find who you are, where you fit, where your markets are, and what your range is. Starting out, there may be a small, narrow range, but that doesn't matter. What's important is to be able to communicate your story. And so my goal is to help the individuals find out what's working, what's not working, what the true marketing strategy would be. Not trying to be, if you're 50 and you're trying to be an 18-year-old kid, it's probably not going to work.
Yeah.
And it doesn't need to, right? It doesn't need to at all, because there are lots of young talent who work really well in that environment. but they can't give the wisdom and knowledge that you can give to other shows and other kinds of product. And so it works both ways. And you might have a broad range, and that's what we need to find, but it has to be an honest range. And some things that you may not be prepared for right now, it doesn't mean that you can't get there. It just means that things change over time. Voices change, the presentation changes. So, if the voice gets deeper, a little raspier, so things change over the course of time. So my goal is to help you communicate, identify with who you are so that you can communicate in other aspects of life. It's not voiceover, but it does help communicate with voiceover.
Right.
Okay. It also will hopefully help in the general being.
Yes.
And being life.
So how do you teach? I mean, you do live seminars and classes here in Southern California. You're doing any stuff on the internet so people all over the ether can access your wisdom?
Absolutely. Absolutely. I actually have a class for beginning voiceover coming up with GVAA, the Global Voice Actors Academy, and that is starting in July 6th. You go to the website or contact me, and I can turn you on to getting them, and seeing about the course. We do so. I do a lot of individual training via Skype or whatever works. So that's always good. Conferences are great. We do our own classes also, Voice Tracks West. For people, locally, we do classes at Voice Tracks West. We'll be coming up with a course in August, and we'll have the date soon. So, yes, and we also produce demos. And I say that because the training has to go somewhere. If you're training and you're not willing to bite the bullet and go for it, you're probably needing to figure out something else. The training should be to reach your goal of proficiency and passion, okay? And when you get to that point, you need to produce a demo that's going to show off who you are and what you're doing, and what you have to offer, who you are. Now, there are some, we do produce demos. There are lots of wonderful producers. When you are looking for a producer for a demo, when you get to that point, and it has to be when you're ready. There is no demo before it's time, or should not be a demo before it's time. And what I mean by that is that if you can reproduce anything you put on there within 2 to 3 takes, you're ready. And if you're not, or if a show is not working for you, that genre is probably not good for you. But you need to make sure that you're ready and that you have a product that is the best tool to that you're happy with and shows the place that you are at that point in time. And then it's continuous education. Like I said before, someone like Scott Rummel is at the top of his game. Does he stop training? No, he doesn't. He works every day training, talking, and also gives back to the community, like Joe Cipriano. Oh, right, Joe.
Gotta love Joe.
You gotta love Joe. And so, it's really important. So what my goal in coaching and teaching, I also teach it at West LA College, an overall beginning voiceover class, just as information. But over the years, as many years as I've been doing this, oh my God, it's so many. But anyways, I do it because I love it. I'm goals. That to me is the most important thing. So when when we're working with people and they have doubts, we try to find out maybe a little bit more who they are, what they are, so we can connect to them and help them work through some things so they can get, they can find their goals and their dreams.
Yeah. Well, we're getting a pile of questions from our amazing audience, and you and I want to go through some scripts so we can show how this works. So we're going to get to that in just a minute here on VoiceOver Body Shop. We'll be right back with Joyce Castellanos talking about promos right after these messages. Get over to Harlan Hogan's VoiceOver Essentials for super summer savings now through July 4th. Get the carry-on travel bag for our acclaimed Porta-Booth Plus vocal booth for an amazing $30 off. If you don't already have a Porta-Booth Plus, the combined price of bag and booth is still $10 less than our normal bag and booth combo price. Either way, what are you waiting for? Our sleek messenger-style bag is sized just right at 24 by 14 by 7 to qualify as carry-on for all major domestic airlines. Unlike several competitors, this bag is amazingly strong, yet feather light and can take an overzealous stuffing in stride. And best of all, it's on sale now for $30 off the regular price of $79.95. That's a 37.5% discount. Don't own a Porta-Booth Plus? There's no better time. Buy a Porta-Booth Plus and its on-sale travel bag for less than our regular combo discount pricing, but only through July 4th. It's the lowest price we've ever offered on our bag or booth combination. So get over to VoiceOver Essentials now. VoiceOver Extra, the voiceover industry's online news, education, and resource center 24/7. Hundreds, probably thousands of free how-to articles for voiceover success, ranging from home studio to voice acting to business. A free voiceover industry directory, calendar of industry events, resource links, a store, and much more. Bi-monthly webinars on all topics of voiceover, free subscriptions to newsletters, reports, announcements, daily news, and features at voiceoverextra.com. All right, we're back with Joyce Castellanos. So we're going to do some promo copy, and then we're going to answer all your questions, of which there are a ton. But we've got copy here, and George, you can actually put up some of the copy. We'll go with this first one here. This is the Copsathon. Bad boys, what you gonna do when they come for you? It's a great show, actually. If you love to see people just destroying their lives,
right?
But it's a it's a reality show, but it's so how would one approach this? There's a lot that goes on in here. I mean, if you show the copy here, George. There it is. Okay, cool. Well, that makes it a lot easier. Okay, so the video. Obviously, you see video on one side, and those know what an AV script is, but it's audio.
And the bold is. Normally, the bold is the VO copy.
Oh, okay. So it says, Fox Saturday, Copsathon, show me. Now,
so show me, okay, the initial cap, the in parentheses, those are your sound bites. So that's the SOTs or sound bites.
Okay, cool. All right. 2 thrill-filled hours in your face of in-your-face action, all new shows that will keep you on the edge of your seat. We'll show you 2 electrifying hours. Copsathon starting at 8/7 Central, Fox Saturday. Okay, so you've got to think about what's going on in the SOTs here. How is it that will they actually show you the video, or they might play you the audio for that? And hopefully,
if you're in a studio, if it's a television spot, they'll play the video and with the audio.
Right.
If it's a radio spot, you'll just have audio. And radio and television are slightly different beasts also.
Right.
But yeah, so when you're looking at a script and you're seeing your sound bites, the script is a story. It's an open, a middle, and an end.
Right.
Okay? So your sound bites, you need to, in a script where you're starting with an open of Fox Saturday Copsathon. That's your opening, opening statement. You're now introducing the show. Then comes the sound bites, and that sound bite, you're reacting and responding to that.
And you've got to know the timing too.
Yes, timing is the other thing we work on. So telling a story is one thing. You can tell a great. So you start with that. That's the mechanics. You've got to start with understanding the story. Then you go to audio to start working the timings.
Right.
Some places aren't even doing audio, but they will give you timings.
Okay.
So you have to be really adept at creating a timing clock and understanding how to make your adjustments.
Right.
Slowing down without sounding like you're stopping and speeding up without sounding like a little chipmunk.
Oh, you mean like back timing the news and the weather to get the top of the
Exactly.
hour? Okay, cool. All right, let me take a shot at this one.
Cool.
Knowing what I know about Fox, they're an exciting network and this is an exciting show, but you don't want to go too over the top with it, I imagine.
Well,
let's take a shot at it.
You might, and one thing about Fox, I'm glad that they do. They're kind of that mid-age group. It's a pretty broad range, but Fox is known for their speed.
Right.
So it's going to be a faster spot.
Okay. Well, let me take a shot at it.
You got it.
Then you can throw me some direction or whatever.
Yeah,
okay.
you bet.
Okay. All right. Okay. Fox Saturday Copsathon. 2 thrill-filled hours of in-your-face action. All new shows that will keep you on the edge of your seat. Or the edge of your seat. We'll show you 2 electrifying hours. Copsathon starting at 8/7 Central. Fox Saturday.
All right. Nice first start, actually. In your face action, the flow will keep it a little bit more edgy and contemporary. So instead of in your face action, instead make it a phrase. In your face action. I like the intensity. That's really working really well. And what I do like is because it's an action drama kind of reality, it is going to be a flatter read. Okay, because drama is a little flatter as far as the bandwidth, and comedy tends to have much more fluctuation. So what I want to do is I want to take it a little tighter to the mic.
Okay. We can do that because we actually have a mic here.
That's right. A little tighter to the mic.
Okay.
Keep that full voice, a little more intensity, but not a lot of projection.
Okay. Take 2. Fox Saturday Copsathon. 2 thrill-filled hours of in-your-face action. All new shows that will keep you on the edge of your seat. We'll show you 2 electrifying hours. Copsathon starting at 8/7 Central. Fox Saturday.
Okay, the second line, you slow down.
I did.
That needs to be the pace needs to be consistent.
Okay.
Okay, so Fox Saturday Copsathon, 2 thrill-filled hours. Now that's the pace. Intensity is good. On the last part, show you 2 electrifying hours. That's the end of the story, basically. Keeping you on the edge of your seat would be the end of the story.
Right.
And then the wrap-up will show you 2 electrifying hours. Make that a period. And then Billboard Copsathon. Okay?
Gotcha. All right, one more time here. Take 3. Fox Saturday Copsathon. 2 thrill-filled hours of in-your-face action. All new shows that will keep you on the edge of your seat. We'll show you 2 electrifying hours. Copsathon starting at 8/7 Central. Fox Saturday.
Nice. I would still smooth that just a second, just a little bit, but I loved it. And you know what? It's you've got to sound like you've got to be the authority.
Right.
And you had the authority in there. And it wasn't trying to overpower. Loved it.
Oh, good. All right. There's another one here. There's The Simpsons here, but
yes.
which our friend Joe Cipriano probably did a bunch of, and a few others. But I want to do this, and then I want to have George try one.
Oh, no, don't waste time on me. We got a lot of chat room questions.
All right, one more quick one here. Let's see here. All right, here's all right. We all know The Simpsons.
Yeah.
All right, so it shouldn't be too hard to get into this. Say Fox big win Sunday. Homer goes from sports hero to game show star with Secret Square Ron Howard. But when the frame wears off, can Homer cope? All new Simpsons next Saturday at 8 on Fox. Helps to just read through it once to make sure you...
It does. Well, because you're also finding your story.
Right.
Because punctuation is another thing altogether.
Okay. And Simpsons, take 1. Fox Big Win Sunday. Homer goes from sports hero to game show star and Secret Square Ron Howard. But when the fame wears off, can Homer cope? All new Simpsons next Sunday at 8 on Fox.
All right, good. Now, the beginning, it's the energy has got to be much higher.
Right.
So that's going to be quicker. It's like the call to action. Fox, Big Win Sunday.
Right.
Okay. Now, when you're talking about sports hero and game show host,
right,
there's kind of the attitude of that the game show host.
Yeah.
Okay, so you could play a little bit more with that.
Okay.
And then you're introducing Ron Howard. So when you're introducing, your body language wants to work with you.
Okay.
And then there's a slight shift of, oh, really now?
Yeah.
So you can play. Let's play a little bit more, but I think the timing has to be a little quicker at the top, and then the rest is working fine.
Okay. All right. Take 2, and then we'll get to these tremendous amounts of questions we have. All right. Fox Big Win Sunday. Homer goes from sports hero to game show star with Secret Square Ron Howard. But when the fame wears off, can Homer cope? All new Simpsons next Sunday at 8 on Fox.
Now, that was great. I would keep this, but when the fame wears off a little quicker. I love the attitude. I think what it sounds like, there's a character in there that knows what's going on.
Right.
That's convincing. That was great. I loved it.
Cool. All righty.
Very nice.
Why, thank you. Thank you so much. It's always good to learn from the people that really know this stuff. All righty. Well,
first question.
What's that?
Should I grab the first question?
You can grab the first question, sure,
cool.
because it was actually written in from Kira Gurney. She wanted to ask this question.
This one actually came in before the show on email.
Right.
So she was anticipating you being here.
How sweet.
Kira says, thanks for your time and insight into this field. I currently do promos for a movie channel, Sony Pix, and was wondering what the main differences are in doing them for a TV show, both from a performance aspect and a production aspect for the sound. Ooh.
Well, that might be.
That's deep.
Yeah, that might be a little over my head. But if you're doing more trailer for the movie picks, because their trailer is more. It's not quite as involved, and it has more of a call to action. So the energy is a little bit. Hello. So the energy might be a little different. Okay, you're having somebody. If it's for theatrical, it's going to be coming a little stronger, a little more forceful read. When you're doing a movie promo where the theatrical is now on air on television, that becomes more relational in style. So the difference between that would be the difference between the trailer and the promo world for movies. So I'm hoping that, the other thing is the trailer tends to be more, here's line, where the promo has the interaction of what's happening in the show. You're reacting and responding to what's going on. So it is a little different. It's more personal. It's more involved. I hope that helps. As far as the technical aspect, that would be you guys. I'd send it back to you.
All right.
Well, I mean, we've got a lot to dig through tonight, so we'll leave the technical stuff to the technical guys that actually know that stuff.
That's true. Maxine Dunn, who now really enjoys this program.
Oh,
she watches all the time. Says, hi, Joyce. Could you talk a bit about the difference between the voice actors' schedule demands of cable promos versus TV affiliate promos? It seems that with TV affiliate promos, you have to be available 24/7 on demand, and she needs her beauty sleep. So,
oh, beauty sleep. Boy, I better get some. Okay, so that's difficult. Pretty much, I can tell you from the network side that they expect you to be available pretty much all the time too. I can tell you there are people who will not take a vacation because they don't want to lose their jobs. They feel if they go on vacation, their job is gone, they'll find somebody else. Because promo and affiliate, they need what they need when they need it. So it's pretty much the same, to be honest. There are a lot of demands on you as a promo voice actor, whoever you're working for, because they'll get changes at the last minute. Show product doesn't come in. They're writing these spots at the last minute. They've got a feed at the last minute. So that's pretty much the same. You're going to need to be available a lot. That would also be possibly working out with their agent to see what maybe there are times available. You could make it like a 10 to 6, something like that, where you'll have time in the morning. But you know what? You got to watch what you wish for, because that's what people have found out.
Yep.
They get the job, they're so excited, and then 3 months later they haven't slept because they're on call. So it's probably the same.
All right.
This one comes from announcer.
It's Doug.
What's the state of the promo world these days in terms of the level and amount of competition in the promo world? So I guess there's more voices than ever in promo now, right?
And is there more work? And it's still hard to get into, though?
It is. But like you mentioned earlier, Dan, there's such a variety of styles that are out there now. If you're looking at network, it's going to be nigh impossible. Okay? I mean, there's always an opportunity to get in at some point. But network is five networks. You've got 500 cable stations. There's every kind of, there's local television that have their own people for their shows. You've got all different formats now, different platforms. You've got Netflix and DirecTV and Amazon, and everybody is producing their own shows. So the opportunities are there for people who know what they're doing, because everybody wants to have something that's a little unique. If you listen to Bravo has the one man who they found that kind of tweak in his voice, and then they futz the voice. But
coming up next on Bravo,
it's that kind of cool and guy. So he's there. We've got on NBC, they have their prime time, their comedy and their drama. You've got places that have their voices until a new show comes on. But if you're looking at cable, and there's so much out there, the affinity programming, and by that I mean things like HGTV, DIY, the Golf Channel, the science, everything has opportunity, but the competition is huge. So being prepared, showing what you can do, what you can bring to the table, what it's going to be, how you can make it interesting and definitive, that's going to be that's the key.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
All right. Bev Standing, one of the luckiest women I know. Only she understands why that. I would say that. Would you say that the percentage of promo work is male at the moment? And dovetailing on what Maxine was probably going to ask, what is the future of women in promo?
It's a great question. Okay. So, as I said, I've been in here a long time. It was male only, except for maybe 0.1% for special shows. Network is still going to be primarily male. It's a good old boys network, and they still see men as being able to sell the shows primarily. Occasionally you'll have a female. However, with all of the cable stations, okay, you must be hearing a lot of women out there. It is not going to come, promos are never going to be all women and no men. But
unless they get rid of all the men.
I don't see that happening. However, there is a lot opening up for women now. Women who know what they're doing, who can relate, who can be strong, who can be playful. The real importance is to know who your audience is. It's not just the women's stations that are using women anymore. If you listen to Travel Channel, Food Network, HGTV, Science, Discovery, they're using women.
They sure are.
And it's fantastic because you're looking at the audience. The men may be relating to a lot of men in their world. The women can be relating to a lot of women that may be saying, oh, she's saying it's pretty cool. Maybe I should watch it. There's a lot going on. So that is important. Train, know what you're doing, be ready to compete. When that door opens, you want to be able to run through it.
All right.
Great one. Richard Hercher, he asks, if I want to get into promo next year,
good luck.
Planning ahead, what should I be practicing to hone my craft today? What background is going to translate well for someone new to that business?
Well, that's going to take some obvious training. You've got to define who you are, where you fit. Yeah. And that's the first thing. If you try to be everything to all people, you're never going to be real. Yeah. So you need to determine where you fit. Is it what kind of sound do you have? Is it mid-range? Is it young? Is it contemporary? Is it kind of old style? You've got to know where you fit. You've got to know first that, and then find the shows that are going to work for you. Okay, so nothing goes without training.
All right. D. Jackson Daniel asks, Joyce, that being your name,
that's me.
Do you think at least some of the greats have built-in internal catalog of emotional triggers, catapults, versus looking for something new each time? I ask because with the former one runs the risk of becoming stale, and the latter of being overwhelmed.
That's very true. Yes. I do believe that the greats, they know what triggers they as Don LaFontaine had the best statement. He lets the copy talk to him. He doesn't try to control the copy. He emotionally connects, and that's how he shares his information. So that is the one side of it. You have to be open to learning new and more, and to be experiencing and willing to experience new things, because things change constantly. You have to always be listening and be aware of what's happening, what's changing in the styles. It's very, very important to stay up with what's going on, but not try to be like everybody else. You must define who you are and how you can make contemporary you. It's not being Mr. Cool like everybody else. It's got to be my Mr. Cool. This is me being cool. This is how I relate to people.
Cool.
All right.
Wow, I didn't know how you're going to answer that. That was
I think these two questions, the next two go together.
Yeah, they do go together. I'll kind of run them together. So Scott Chambers asks, how important is it to be in Los Angeles? They always ask, how important is it to be in Los Angeles to do major network promos? And then Richard asks about which geographic markets have more promo work. So the two kind of work together, those two questions.
Well, that's a good one. Promo, not so much have to be here. It does help to know the people that are around and doing things, but that's especially if you're looking for network. Okay, but if you're not, the managers are going to be helpful in promo, definitely. So it doesn't matter where you live. And so that is something, obviously, the managers are hard to get to because they only take on 15, 20 people. However, being in LA for promo in station world, it is not that important. It's not necessarily going to get you anywhere. If you're in animation, you better be here. But for promo, no. But you do have to know how to be competitive in the promo world, pretty much based on the teachings of the LA markets. Regional does have a little different feel, and so that too is important to understand your regional style. If it's for the individual promos for shows within your region, if it's broadcast on any station, you need to just be competitive in those areas, but you do not have to live here.
It seems like the folks that I know that are really successful in promo that aren't in LA probably lived here at one time.
Started here?
Yeah.
It's that. Do you know anybody that's made it? I mean, random, but anybody that's made it doing network promo, but not starting in LA. Have
Network
you heard of that?
promo, no. But I believe Ed Victor, I know, is doing quite a bit, even international, and doing very well. And when he came out here, he had some success, but it didn't help in that area as much as he had hoped. So he came from Florida and ultimately, beginning from Detroit. So he came and he had a lot of training and he's doing well, but coming here can be important to get into a lot of the sessions like Mary Lynn Wisner. Okay. When they hold these groups and they bring in the agents or the directors or the producers, those are fabulous. You need to be here for those kinds of things. So if you're looking at wanting to meet the people, even give yourself a few months to get some of these programs and get in touch with the people. That would be really important because it is all about the networking.
A lot of pressing. Hollywood is still a very touchy-feely place. There's a lot of that face-to-face, interaction.
Yeah, and the
people
organizations, when you get to the organizations and they have conferences, those are good. The meet and greets are so important. See, I'm hitting it now too.
That's why it's there.
So I hope that helps.
Yeah, that's what I've been finding. I've only been here a year, but it's press in the flesh. It's meeting people. It's getting someone to introduce you to somebody else. Yes, you can call my agent. Which is quite a compliment because nobody's going to take a chance on you. You're good at what you do. We've got just a couple more questions here, and then we got to roll. But Maxine asks again, do you have some tips for creating your first promo demo for women? What material should you use? The Wealth Channel.
Well, okay, so depending on your range, depending on the markets that you're going to, you want to find the stations that will be open, say, to women. Just because they're not using them now, though, does not mean that they wouldn't. Okay. But when you're creating a promo demo, what you really need to know is where you fit, what your demographics are, what styles. Do you have a personality for the housewives? Is there a haughtiness to you, or is it just too, do you have this young, very bright, upbeat feel? If you have both, that's great. You can show that. But you want to find what's really in your market and your wheelhouse. Okay. You want to use fresh copy. Okay. I can tell you right now, you don't want to take a piece of copy that's aired and use it. One, it's probably not the best thing to do because, they've written it, that's theirs. But the other thing is it could show up on 5 different people's demos. That's not good.
Yeah.
That's why it's important to work with someone who really knows about how to create the scripts and also understands who you are, because they've got to capture your essence and allow you to show your personalities.
Yeah, I mean, a demo has to sound like the real thing. So if you're doing a read that's already been read and seen on television, immediately they know it's not authentic. That's not going to work very well for you.
Right.
All righty. Richard Hercher says, another question from him. He says, are there any trends you've noticed that cycled in and out of promo that you see that are starting to come back into demand? Like the classic announcer.
Oh,
God willing,
yeah.
and the creek don't. Right?
Well, actually, there is a trend where some of the stations are using the bigger voices, not the style of old old promo, the very big and blah, 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 and maybe some weird
Nobody
pauses.
actually talks like that.
There were some occasions. But there is a demand for the bigger voice on some of the stations, definitely. And some of the networks, especially when you're talking about the heavy duty dramas, the heavy cop stuff, and on Showtime, when you've got something like Game of Thrones, when you've got some period pieces, they need heavy duty reads. So that is coming back as far as that goes, and not to be afraid, because everybody's trying to be mid-range, 30 years old. That a lot of stuff is going that way, and that's fine. What you're looking for is for what's appropriate for you. Okay, so the trends are still the mid-range voices that maybe 30 to 40 is the sweet spot. But it's not to say that that's all there is. So I definitely say, if you've got the bigger boomy voice, don't be afraid of it. Just find the right spots for it and the right places to use them.
Oh, great piece of advice. Joyce, it has been a thrill and a pleasure having you here, and thanks for wending your way through the traffic of Southern California to get here.
Oh, my pleasure. It's been a ball and a treat, and they can reach me if they need my...
And how can one reach you?
Well, you can email me at joyce.castellanos@gmail.com, or I will give you my number, if I may.
And the number in New Jersey.
Yeah, right. But actually, you know what? The email is the best. Then we can talk. Give me your phone number. I will call you, and we will be able to start a conversation. If you want any information on the upcoming classes, that's the best place to find me, and then I will help you. If I could be of any assistance, don't hesitate to email me. I would love to help you. But thank you both. This has been fantastic. And I thank you for all your questions. If there's something more, I'll answer them.
Just write to her.
Just
Alrighty. All right. Joyce Castellanos, our guest tonight. All right. Well, we're going to wrap everything up into a nice tight little bow in just a minute. So don't go away. We'll be right back.
Are you confused about how to set up and maintain a professional quality voiceover studio? No wonder. The information out there is mostly mythology. This is the best microphone to use. You have to have a preamp. You need a soundproof booth. This software is the best. Your audio must be broadcast quality. Consult with someone who knows the truth. Someone who's been there, in the trenches, doing voiceover for over 30 years. Someone with unparalleled experience with voiceover studios, who's worked with hundreds of voice actors and designed hundreds of personal studios. He knows how to teach and cares about your success. In one of the harshest environments known to voiceover, your home. Dan Leonard, the Home Studio Master. Separate myth from fact and get a handle on your personal voiceover studio. Contact the Home Studio Master at homevoiceoverstudio.com. Drop off a specimen of your dry audio for a free analysis.
Well, that's going to be it for a while.
Yes, it will.
And we might as well go out with the bang. Joyce was great on the show. Well, let's see here. What's going on? First off,
taking off July.
We're going to be gone for July.
Yeah.
Remember, we took off last July, as I picked up every last stick in my old house in Buffalo, threw it in the car with my wife and dogs, and we came out here, and we didn't come back until August 1st. So we're going to do that again.
It just feels right.
It's time to take a break.
We need it.
And so we're going to do this. So no show for a couple of weeks, but look, you can watch any of the replays on YouTube.
There's so much content on YouTube.
I mean, this is episode 42 since we started.
I know.
Can you believe that? 42 weeks out of a year? My goodness. That means we only took 10 weeks off. So check it out on YouTube at VOBS.tv or just look up VOBS on YouTube.
That's right.
All right. Donations we've had, and we really appreciate their big help in keeping the technical quality of this show at peak efficiency.
We're trying.
Yeah.
There are some new each week. It's Apollo 13. There are new glitches in our software which you're trying to sort out, but we are still on the air, so we haven't totally crashed. Diana Birdsall has donated. Eric Aragoni, always
Eric, thank you.
the show. Michael Martin, thank you, my friend. We go way back. Eric Aragoni, I mentioned you, but I'll say you again because you just showed up in my
every
feed
week
again. Patty Gibbons. We had donations from my dad.
Thanks, George.
My dad was joking. I just was with my parents all last week, and he was joking. He's like, I still haven't figured out how to cancel that. It was so funny.
We're not going to tell you.
Amanda Fellows, thank you.
Thanks, Mandy.
Brian Page. And going back into the beginning of last week, we've got the last one I saw from here was from Captain VO.
All right.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you very much. All righty.
And then, of course, we've got what's going on at Edge.
What's going on at Edge?
I'm teaching an Audacity 201 class tomorrow night. I don't know if it's full, but you can always check our website and see if it's available. edgestudio.com. Audacity 201 is on Tuesday night. And then we're doing some with Stephen J. Cohen, who is probably the most knowledgeable on Reaper of anybody I know. And that's why I brought him in. I was like, dude, you got to teach Reaper, not me. So he's teaching 2 classes, 101 and 201. If you want to find out more, go to edgestudio.com/Reaper-webinar-101.
All right.
And 201 if you want to go on to the next one.
Okay. Show logs. Jack is still writing every word that we say.
That's right.
Every word that Joyce threw out at us tonight is going to be in the show logs. So make sure you can just look right above us and click on show logs and it'll be there. And they're usually with the YouTube feed.
That's right. The podcast version, if you're not listening on the podcast already, you could be if you don't like long video shows. They're on Stitcher, iTunes, anywhere a podcast can be heard.
Right. And come August, if you'd like to be in our studio audience, write to us. The guys at VOBS will be glad to have you here. We serve veggies and all sorts of cool stuff.
Iced tea tonight
and things like that. We actually have room for a few people, and it's more fun when there's more people.
Yeah.
It's sort of tailed off. People need to come back down here. I know it's a Monday afternoon. Just, have lunch out in the valley and come out and visit us.
Exactly.
It'd be great.
Take the Monday off.
That's right.
Thanks to our sponsors, Harlan Hogan,
VoiceOver Extra,
Edge Studio,
Source Elements,
VO to Go and Rehearsal app,
and Antland Productions for providing the uninterrupted stream. Was it uninterrupted tonight?
Yeah.
Okay.
There's a couple little tiny glitches, but it never went offline.
Okay.
A couple little freezes.
All right. Well, we'd like to thank Marcy, of course, for bringing the vegetables out, sneaking them in the door, and a box and a bag of lemons for our wonderful guests.
Oh, that's what came.
It was a box. It was a bag of lemons. We've got so many lemons falling off the trees because it's so hot. So we put them out on the front fence, and it says "Make lemonade."
Yeah. And sell it in front of our house. Give us 50% of the profits.
That's right. Let's see here. We need to thank Kathy Curtin, our crack producer, Anthony doing a stellar job in the chat room tonight, Jack DeGolia for the show notes, and Lee Penny for being Lee Penny and for the podcast. That's going to do it for us for 4 weeks.
That's right, man.
I mean, it's not like we won't see each other for 4 weeks, but it will be fun. I got to
go away for a little while.
I'm going to Chile
for
10 days. That'll be different. It's another planet.
You're going to go from 110 to
about 50, 40, 45.
45, or even, depending on how high the mountains, even colder.
But I want to see the Andes. I want to see volcanoes.
It's going to be awesome.
Get to see them. All right. Well, that's going to do it for us tonight. Thanks again to our guest, Joyce Castellanos, and that great discussion on promos. I'm Dan Leonard.
And I'm George Whittam.
And this is VoiceOver
Body Shop.
Or VO.
BS.
There we go. Have a great month. Have a great 4th of July. Have a great July. Enjoy your summer. We'll see you in August. Have a great one, everybody.
Good night, everybody.
Bye.
Audience shot. Audience shot.